Hello, I'm Kim Empton and I help organisations extend their reach through the power of animation. This week, in this live video, we're talking about picture stories versus animation. Hi. As I was saying, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Kim Empton and today we're talking about why animation over picture stories. Now, I'm just going to share this video on the social medias. Oops, I don't know what I did there. Maybe I posted it. Okay. Let's go. So, of course, using animation or picture stories, there is pros and cons to both. Animation should look good, say something, and move well. And if you're using pictures and they're doing the first two, then great, you don't have to worry about them moving well. And of course, sorry to sound like I'm sitting on the fence, but either can work well for you if you are strategic about your content and not just posting random things for the sake of it. We should also think about a variety of mediums and appropriate marketing channels, so it's okay to use both animation and pictures in a mix of content. But it's also about ensuring that your visuals reflect your brand well. In my experience, content without strategy is most likely to be a DIY job, and DIY photography is obviously more accessible than DIY animation. But what kinds of strategic content am I talking about? Whether animating or sharing pictures, what are you trying to say or achieve? Are you successfully painting the picture that you understand your customers' problems? Are you creating content with the buyer journey in mind and the emotion involved in making a purchase? Or are you adding value in your area of knowledge? And no matter what medium, I hope you're telling a story, even if you have factual information to explain. It's really hard to speak in these general terms, of course, because there are lots of different ways you can use photos in animation, and it's about what is right for your brand or your product. Photography is great for food and other tangible projects. People are able to then see the actual product. And animation is best for non-tangible services and software. I also think animation is great for mental health because it's a very abstract subject matter and other social healthcare subjects. However, stop motion animation is great for products as well. I've done loads of food animations using stop motion animation. So let's talk about some of the pros of using a picture story. So I want to point out that you can, of course, combine many pictures into a video with text to tell a story. With your picture stories, maybe you could do a bit more of a DIY job, so it can be really budget friendly compared to animation. But equally, you can get bespoke professional photography done, which would look amazing. Let's look at some of the pros of using animation. It's noisy out there content-wise and on those social media feeds. So a bit of movement does help you stand out and it helps to stop the scroll. With animation, you can design a bit more of a softness and a sensitivity for the correct subject with a warmth. you're more likely to be able to get your animation bespoke to your business, depending on who you're working with and depending on if you're doing a DIY job. But there are more apps now available to do your own DIY animated short social content. Fluid movement can really draw you in as it leads the eye. So if that is coming up on your feed, I think you will stop the scroll and have a little look. Now let's look at the negative sides of using picture stories. Okay, so pictures don't always have the right appeal when selling non-tangible things, as we just talked about, like a piece of computer software. Photos can sometimes look cold, and with pictures you've got the choice of stock pictures, but some of the stock pictures are not great. You know, you might have to compromise a bit to find the right fit. So it might not be exactly what you're looking for. It can be the same when you're buying stock graphics, mind. An alternative is to obviously get a professional photographer in, but you know, would you be using potentially staff who are uncomfortable having their picture taken? It depends, because you might be photographing products. Now, some of the cons to using animation. Of course, it can be expensive and it can be complicated to do in a DIY way. It can be very time consuming, very difficult, quite complicated. But I think concluding and wrapping it up, the point is, no matter which you choose, to use a combination of content, to have aims and objectives established, and to be strategic. Okay, so I hope that gives you guys a really, really good overview. I'm just going to check on FaceAche and see if we have any questions coming through. I don't seem to have any on YouTube. Like I say, this is the first time I've done streaming on YouTube. Yeah, it looks like I haven't managed to live stream through to my Facebook group, so maybe I'll just have to upload this afterwards. No questions coming through just now. Let's have another look, see if we can get some more detail and clarity. Hopefully that does help you, give you some ideas of when it might be quite right to use pictures, when it might be right for animation. I think we can agree that there are definitely some subject matters or some mediums that are more suited than others for your particular medium. Okay. So let me just talk a little bit about what I've been up to this week that might help give some context to this, because funnily enough, with Matt asking the question of when do you use picture stories versus animation, I literally did a brand success story that I finished at the start of this week, where they were using text on screen and pictures only. Luckily, they had loads of pictures to supply me with, pictures on their journey that they'd already documented from the business starting from nothing, well, not from nothing, from very small. So they had loads of photography for that, so it was really nostalgic, which is really quite attractive. And then we only needed a few little stock photos, so it really matched the brand well as having the text on screen to tell the story. So in some ways there wasn't loads of animation involved, but they were happy with that, to go with that style of animation to tell the story and have about the success. So that one was really led by the story, and the visuals were appropriate because they wanted to be authentic and nostalgic. So maybe, photography might have some values there that we didn't discuss about authenticity. So he was showing some of his adventures of when he was traveling around America selling his products, and had the actual photos from that time. So there's some values there on using photography in that instance. But of course we needed to use animation for some of the other elements to go with it. It wasn't just literally photos. Things like a timeline and things like a map showing the journey so that the path was animated, almost like Indiana Jones. So funnily enough, yes, I had just done something that was very photography based just recently. So hopefully that gives you some really good overview of photographs versus animation. Excuse me. And I'm going to sign off and see you all again next week, and we'll find a new subject matter for next week, and we'll see if we can work using both Facebook and YouTube for the live stream. Just trying out both, seeing what's going to work for me, which works best. And I'd love to hear from you guys what you prefer. Maybe you prefer YouTube over Facebook, or maybe you prefer Facebook. Let me know. And again, always let me know what questions you've got and how I can help you. See you soon.